Welcome to the Book Reader channel.
Welcome to another episode of Street Chronicles. Will is on the run, but will he stay safe once Law and Skate find out what he's done? Stay tuned, because this is your new favorite audiobook, right here on the Book Reader channel. The night air was thick with the stench of piss and fried food, the kind that clung to the block no matter the season. Cherry moved through the shadows, her hoodie pulled tight over her face, her hands buried deep in the pockets of a stolen coat. Her stomach twisted, not from hunger, but from the gnawing sickness creeping up her spine. She needed to get right. Now, she crept past a row of busted-up cars, eyes darting for movement. The neighborhood wasn't safe, never had been. But tonight, something felt off. Too quiet, too still. The usual corner boys weren't posted up, and that meant one of two things. The cops had been through, or something worse was coming. Then she saw him. Will. He stood on the corner under the flickering streetlight, shoulders tight, talking low with two cops. Cherry froze. Will wasn't the type to talk to the law. Hell, none of them were. But there he was, shifting from foot to foot, his hands moving as he spoke. She crept closer, staying low behind a rusted-out Chevy. The wind carried snatches of his words. The mail truck, weapons, military grade. They'll kill me if they find out. Cherry's heart punched against her ribs. The mail truck, the one they hit last week. The one that wasn't just stuffed with packages, but heavy with something way harder. Will was snitching. Her breath came fast and sharp. Her body screamed for a hit. But now, the sickness inside her wasn't just from the dope. It was from knowing Will was selling out his own people. And if he'd do that to them, what would he do to her? The city was alive in its usual way. Shadows shifting, hushed voices in alleyways, the distant echo of sirens that no one paid attention to. She turned the corner, eyes scanning the usual spots. There, Skate was posted up outside the 51 liquor store, a backwood hanging from his lips, his eyes glassy from whatever he had been on tonight. Cherry rushed up, grabbing his arm. I need to get right, Skate. Where's Law? She asked, voice sharp, desperate. Skate shrugged, taking a drag and exhaling slow. I don't know, man. You got his number. Hit him up. Cherry didn't have time to argue. She fumbled for her phone, hands shaking as she scrolled to Law's number. Pressed call. It rang twice before he picked up. Who this? It's Cherry, she said quickly. Meet me in the alley behind the Candy Lady. I got something for you. Silence. Then, bet. The line went dead. Cherry jogged the 2 blocks to the alley, her stomach tight with nerves. The air smelled like garbage and piss. But she didn't care. She needed this fix. And Law was the only one who could make it happen. Minutes later, Law appeared, stepping out of the dark like a ghost. He was tall, built like someone who didn't play games, a black hoodie over his head, gold glinting at his neck. You said you got something for me? He asked, voice low, eyes scanning her up and down like he was measuring her worth. Cherry nodded quickly, licking her dry lips. Yeah, but I need a hit first. Law smirked, reaching into his pocket. All right, I got you. He tossed her a small bag. Cherry snatched it, barely able to contain the relief shaking through her body. But she knew better than to dip just yet. She had to play this smart. She took a breath. Will was talking to the police. That got Law's attention. His face darkened. What? I saw him. He was telling them about the mail truck, the weapons. He said they'd kill him if they found out. Law went quiet. His jaw tightened as he stared past her, thinking, calculating. Sherry shifted on her feet. Finally, he exhaled through his nose. All right. He turned like he was about to walk away, but then stopped. Looked at her again. Expression unreadable. I need to tie up all loose ends. Before Cherry could process what that meant, the flash came. The shot rang out, echoing through the alley. She collapsed, the world spinning, pain blooming deep in her chest. The bag she had just clutched so desperately slipped from her fingers. Her breath came in wet gasps, eyes wide as the darkness swallowed her whole. Law didn't even blink. He turned, tucking the gun away, and strolled down the block like nothing happened. He found Shooter right where he expected, posted up at the crap game, counting a stack of bills. Law nodded once. We got business. Shooter smirked, tucking his money away. Say less. Law pulled his phone out, dialing fast. As Skate pulls up with his bottle, Will answered on the second ring, voice low, cautious. Yo, Will said. Listen up, Law said, his voice steady, unreadable. Go to Anacostia Station. Take the blue line to LaFont Plaza. Will hesitated. For what? You gonna meet Shooter there. And the new connect. Silence stretched on the line. Law could hear Will breathing, thinking, you got a problem with that? Law pressed, his voice sharper now. Nah, Will said quickly. I got you. Good. Law hung up, slipping the phone back in his pocket. His mind was already 2 steps ahead. As the police surrounds them, the flashing red and blue lights reflected off the cracked pavement, sirens cutting through the thick air. Law sat in the back of the squad car, hands cuffed behind him, jaw locked tight. Skate was beside him, looking more pissed than surprised. Man, this is wild, Skate muttered, shifting against the cuffs. How they even get us? Law didn't answer. He already had his suspicions. The car pulled off, the city blurring past them. Law leaned his head back against the seat, inhaling slow. He wasn't worried. This wasn't the end. Not for him. Will moved fast, hoodie pulled low, his heartbeat drumming in his ears. The city felt different tonight, like eyes were on him that he couldn't see. Law's instructions played over in his head. Go to Anacostia. Take the blue line to LaFont Plaza. Meet Shooter. Meet the new connect. He didn't like this. Not one bit. The platform was nearly empty, except for a few late-night stragglers. An old man slumped on a bench, 2 teens arguing over something stupid, and a woman nodding off in the corner. Will kept his back to the wall, scanning everything, his nerves on fire. The train screeched in, doors sliding open. He stepped inside, gripping the pole, his fingers clammy. The car wasn't crowded, but every face felt like a question. A man in a black jacket with a duffel bag sat across from him, tapping his foot too fast. A woman with a baby looked at him too long before turning away. Paranoia? Maybe. but Will knew better than to ignore his gut. The train jerked forward, rattling through the tunnels. Each stop made him more anxious. Navy Yard, Capitol South, Federal Center. LaFont was next. He exhaled, tried to calm his nerves. Shooter's solid. Law wouldn't send me into a bad situation. But Law wasn't out here right now. Will stepped off the train, the underground station humming with energy. Commuters, street musicians, the occasional cop lurking by the escalators. He moved through the crowd, his hoodie low, shoulders tight. Shooter was waiting near the far wall, hands in his pockets, looking calm as ever. A cigarette dangled from his lips, the ember glowing in the dim light. "You late," Shooter said as Will approached. "Train was slow," Will muttered. Shooter studied him for a second, then nodded toward the dark corridor leading toward the lower exits. "Come on." "Connect's waiting." Will hesitated. "Who is he?" Shooter gave a lazy smirk. "Need to know. And right now, you don't need to know." That sick feeling in Will's stomach got worse. They started walking, heading toward the back exit of the station, where fewer people were. The air smelled damp, the fluorescent lights flickering. Then Will's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced down. Unknown number. His stomach turned. Shooter glanced over. "Who that?" Will didn't answer. He let the call go to voicemail. They kept walking, deeper into the shadows, toward whatever was waiting for him next. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and dead leaves, the trees standing tall like silent witnesses. Rock Creek Park was always quiet this late at night. Too many dark corners, too many places for things to go missing. Will followed Shooter down the narrow trail, the distant hum of the city fading behind them. His gut told him something was off, but he couldn't turn back now. "How much further?" Will asked, his voice low. Shooter didn't answer at first. He just kept walking, his steps slow, deliberate. Then, without looking back, he said, "Not much." Will's hands twitched at his sides. He wasn't armed. Didn't think he needed to be. Law had sent him here, right? This was business. Just a new connect. But something wasn't adding up. "Yo," Will tried again. "Who the hell is this connect, man?" Shooter finally stopped, turning slightly. A smirk played at his lips, but his eyes were cold. "Ain't no connect." A second later, the gun was out. Will barely had time to react before the silencer coughed. A quiet pop cutting through the night. Pain exploded in his chest. His knees buckled. His breath caught. He hit the dirt, gasping, hands clutching at the hole in his hoodie. Blood spread warm and fast beneath him, sinking into the earth. Shooter crouched beside him, watching the life drain from his eyes. "Law knew," Shooter murmured. "Knew you talked. Knew you was a problem." He shook his head. "Loose ends, homie." Will tried to speak, but the words never came. His body twitched once, then stilled. Then he disappeared into the trees, leaving Will to fade into the darkness. Across town, the police were moving. The warehouse had been empty. No mail truck, no weapons, nothing but dust and bad leads. That meant one thing. Will had lied. Now they needed answers. Squad cars flooded the streets, lights flashing, sirens cutting through the night. Detectives pounded on doors, stopping anyone who might know something. But Will? Will was gone.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new one. I'll be back with the next episode of the series every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and stay tuned. Catch you next time.